Hello there and welcome. In this video, I want to introduce to you 5 different build ideas for 5 different champion configurations in Monster Train 2. We're going to cover each one of the basic clans that are in the game, and I want to give you one with victory strategy that is easy to understand, easy to use, and hopefully will bring you some enjoyment. Now, let's get started with the first one. I want to go here with the Banished with Fail's Savior configuration. Savior is a really interesting thing because she allows herself this way to be a pretty reliable frontline tank because you can generate armor right off the bat. It is also a cooldown skill, which means you get that reliably back, so she makes a perfect basement floor vanguard that just works a charm. When you combine this now with Everlasting Light, she becomes a real powerhouse because her tankiness is determined by the amount of valor on the floor, and this is already enough sturdiness to tank. Just Savior Fell plus Everlasting Light. Obviously, that doesn't win you a game. The easiest way to win from this point on is to get yourself units that have the sweeping tag. Test Subject Alpha, for example, is wonderful. This guy just needs a little bit of modifications and has everything you require. But choose to your own liking. Sweep is one wonderful thing you can use, and if you can't get your hands directly on that, Cleave is another wonderful tool that you can utilize to clear the floor with the horrendous amounts of attack that you accumulate. The interesting thing about this build is that you have a very reliable access to strong units because Everlasting Light is not a rare thing. This will pop up quite commonly, but basically any form of Valor increase on Fel will work too. You just have to work around that and she becomes, at the end of the day, more and more tanky. The interesting thing here is that this build has, regardless of what you pair it up with, the proper tools to explode. The Hymnists can give you Trample or Quick, which means any form of sweeping attack can become extremely volatile with a combination of Valor. From that point on, it's really up to you what you want to use because the build is extremely powerful, just as this is. The most important things are you need to keep Fel as a frontliner alive, and you need to replicate something like that on the other floors as well to get some combo going. Ideally, you bring in some, not the Avengers, where are you guys here? Firebrands, these are my favorites. Firebrands work quite similar to Fel. When they get smacked, they gain Valor. The Savior variant buffs herself and gets the Valor somewhere else, but overall they make a pretty good secondary frontline. Downside of this build, Fel only gains Valor by activating her skill and it needs to be added in externally. If you don't like this variant, everything I just said pretty much plays nicely with the Vanguardian variant, where you just put her up front and you increase the Valor by just getting smacked. I personally like the Savior variant though, because it boosts up a lot of her own stats and the armor on the entire floor, makes you quite resolute against stray blows that just get into your backline here and there, which is something the Banished are extremely vulnerable against, and I found, therefore, the Savior build to be very reliable once you have worked around the fact that she needs to get her Valor externally. Anyways, I think you get the point at this point now, and let's move on over to number 2, the build for the Pyreborn. Here we are going to play with Lord Fenix Pyremaniac configuration. You perfectly can win and dominate the game with the other ones, but I found that one to be very enjoyable, very straightforward, and easy to understand. The gold manipulation path is really cool, the slay path too, but I haven't figured out a build for it yet, as you might see. Anyways, the Pyregel variant. It is very straightforward. We want to Pyregel the hell out of these guys, because we have access to that, we have an increaser for that. So therefore, any spell that applies Pyregel is good for you. And the other thing you want to have are these units that apply Pyogel to the enemies. Magma Cultists, Magma Maulers, and if you can get your hands on one of these beauties, Zealots are basically the jackpot because they can sweep. Sweep is such a powerhouse on a Pyogel spreading build because your goal is naturally to spread as much Pyogel on everybody and then give them a good old AoE whack with these sweepers. The interesting thing about these is that they have that sweeper innately in their own roster. Many of the builds that I have worked around can only import the sweep from other sources. Pyogel plus sweep is already a very volatile combo. So what you now need are spells to get yourself the dangerous things out of your way. Backline excess or just things that will apply more Pyogel. Your main weakness in this build is that you're extremely vulnerable. Lord Phoenix, if he pops, all of your Pyogel increasing is gone. You can work with a Hell Furnace. He's basically a roaming Hell Furnace with that config. But apart from that, you really need that and you are vulnerable. What to do against that? Either you import defenses from other clans, which is fair and nice, or you go for endless units, or you modify them to be stupidly tanky. That also works quite nicely. But I have found out for myself that the Pyreborn really like endless units because, well, yeah, you know, they even got a unit that likes to die. Take the Guildmonger, for example. He's really a good catch. If you can get him endless in the unit shop, boom, you have one hell of a tank, and he's cheap, he gives you profit, and for this faction, it's quite often more easy to get something replaceable and to resummon rather than trying to keep your units alive, because guess what? Ember you are spending either way, either for healing or for resummoning. It's just a different application. But if you don't care for that frontline problem, your whole plan will fall flat. So be aware of that. Now, let's move on over to number 3, the Luna build. Here, my favorite is just working out with Arduhn. Eka is, for me, not my favorite champion. I like the things that this guy does so much more. My favorite was the New Moon build because it is quite straightforward. This guy gets a really, really massive attack bonus for being in New Moon, and this means you have a powerful unit off the bat, right from the get-go, and he even comes with Mage Blade, which means Smite Conduit on him, and he's even gonna hit harder. Wonderful things. Really, really cool things. So, here's how I make him work for me personally. Arduhn likes to be in New Moon, therefore we're working with silent units. The Eclipse Chamber is one of your most desirable things. We are not going to be able to work with full moon effects unless we have these. If we have a couple of Eclipse Chambers, we can even work with Selene units because they don't care which phase of the moon it is. My personal favorites for this build, because they are reliable, available, and just powerful, are Shade Guards. They grow, and achieving New Moon is very easy because Arduhn has the skills to manipulate the moon phases really nicely. Moon Guards are obviously really, really a big jackpot. The only downside here is we don't have native access to sweep because the Selene Acolyte is a full mooner. You could make that work, but not really. The internal antagonisms are too much. What I found to be much more powerful are things that have the moon cycle trait. So moon cycle is not everywhere around, but you have a couple of units that just go crazy with that. As you see here, these 4 things work together massively. New moon units, plus a bit of moon cycling, and you're already on a pretty much a victory path, so to speak. You will then need a couple of tools to get into the backline. You can either go and import yourself some sweep from external sources, which always works. You know, there's plenty of others. Or Trample also works quite nicely because we got really high damage numbers eventually, and there aren't too many sources of Trample. Actually, only Umbra and Banished and Lazarus League can reliably provide. But either way, these can be really, really powerful in their own means. Because Lunar Coven has a lot of abilities to also manipulate the enemy's positioning by moving them upwards or downwards. Up and down movements are much more common for these guys rather than forward or backward. So, in short, you can move the enemy where you need them to smack them. This is obviously also an option. Either way, let's move on over to the fourth build, which is really one of the most foolproof, powerful, and satisfying builds. Mushroom Man plus Executioner config. The Harvest effect procs whenever something dies on the floor, and Regen and Rage is just a pretty powerful thing. And the absurdity behind that is that this guy really only needs a common drop of his own faction, namely the Loam Coat, to go just places with that. He gains Propagate, which means he just will keep stacking those Regen and Rage stacks, and I've had several cases where this guy just kept going and going and regenerating until everything was gone before even the first floor was breached. I mean, obviously this strategy works best with the fungi, because whenever they lose 4 HP, his harvest procs. So this is something that you really can and should utilize. His best friend, in my humble opinion, is the cluster kernel, which I just must have... Yeah, this buddy. This is basically his best friend because he will just respawn new things that go into the harvest. Your long-term goal is to get this guy so big that he's going to smack the boss at the end of the run. Basically, that's the gist of it. What you're going to need for that is either put any other buff on this guy. He's really going crazy with reanimate or whatever you can imagine. Or you go and ensure your success with other backline access methods, be it either rot or spells that go directly into that. Oh, sorry, I meant decay. Decay or other things that go directly into the backline damage spells. I mean, the Spore Launcher and Bolete have also a really powerful relation with one another. It's a very simple and satisfying build that I can only recommend if you're having a bad day with a game and you feel like you need to finally crush the opposition again. Go for this guy. It's really a no-brainer and very enjoyable. So number 5, the last one, the Unstable Orechi build. I like this a lot because it is powerful, easy to apply, and really, to me, it felt like a different way of winning it. Either. So here we go. Unstable means that the enemy will explode if the unstable stacks exceed the current HP. This is basically piercing damage, because that means you forego any armor value, because it's only about the HP, not about the armor. So this is the first really nice caveat. Since this guy is an incanter, he can just pretty much blow up everybody by just casting spells. Therefore, spell spam is really what you want to have. Luckily, he's starting out with a spell that is exactly what you want for that, namely the mixing spell. Should it be here? It creates a potion that you can... Here, the brew thing does the same here, secret ingredient. You create a potion which you then can apply then. The fun thing about that is every application is an incant. So you can cast a spell, incant. Apply the potion, incant. Cast a spell, incant. Apply the potion, incant. Why is that important? Because you can also improve the power of the potions by casting a secret ingredient repeated times. You can therefore decide for yourself either to go for a huge ramping up of the unstable stacks by making less effective potions, or you just make effective potions and you get the idea. That's a spell spam aspect. Very vulnerable to enemy encounters though, keep that in mind. We're utilizing here internally the creatures to dominate the battlefield as follows. Test Subject Arthur goes really well with the Twisted Assistant, and as you see there, the Twisted Assistant is common and the Arthur Subject is uncommon, so this combo is really reliably available for you in any runs. What comes out is a floor-sweeping unit that deals a lot of damage, empowers itself by striking, and if you make it quick, which is honestly not that hard because the Quick Dagger is, as far as I remember here, a clanless item, so you have this combo guaranteed available for your run. So you can either go for a quick hitting dude that just finishes up things, or you go for the twisted back with a trample variant. Obviously doesn't work both at once, but you get the idea. On top of that, you have the Plague Doctors as your other moving part in this build. They are very small, they only need one floor tile, which is really nice, and they play best if you have the luck to get yourself a couple of combustion suits. They are sadly a rare drop for the Lazarus League, but these are basically the best thing that you can get for the Plague Doctors, because they just have this nice combination of then being able to apply a lot of unstable to the frontliner, which is usually the most meaty target anyways, and the rest of the enemies get their coating, which makes them explode. Really nice stuff. To stay alive, you can use either reanimate tactic or import other tactics. The fun about the unstable Orechi build is that it works all by itself. You basically don't need any other clan. You can make it work with the Lazarus League internally, which is really cool, and the rest is just funsies, which means you can really do a lot of heavy lifting with these guys. If you don't like the unstable variant too much, Baron Grail has a lot of fun builds too that I didn't want to introduce because I found them all way more complicated than the unstable variants. Anyways, that's been this video. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know if you want to see something comparable with other champions. I really enjoyed making this video, and I'm eager to do more of this. Feel free to improve on my thoughts, criticize, but please be polite as always. I really love new input, new perspectives. I don't think that I'm the best player on the world, and I think the best is that if you all learn to be better at the end of the day. Either way, leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider supporting the channel via donating or subscribing, YouTube channel membership thingies, whatever tickles your fancy. I want to say thanks for that, and thanks for watching this video up until the very end. Thanks for your time, and see you on the next one.